Hello and welcome. I would like to introduce the management team for this project known as the Security Risk Matrix, or SRM. The team consists of myself, Anthony Xavier, Gokman Guven, Emeka Nwasu, and Nena Ikiobi. There is no doubt that the world is displaying instability both regionally and globally. We saw last week the attacks in Paris, the diverse interaction between a global security issue being apparent at a very local level. Although there is much open source information regarding these issues, there is very little analysis conducted for the UK specifically. Large companies such as Stratfor and the Economist Intelligence Unit conduct work far more relevant to North America, meaning stakeholders in the UK are underserved. And what do these people want? They want concise analysis, focused on risk and looking into the long term, and at the moment they're not getting that. Although there is a massive variety of individuals with a need for this analysis, many are not willing to pay for it, believing that they can access open source information and make their own deductions. There are some groups, however, with a need for high quality analysis, some with a greater need than others. Businesses in general are susceptible to security risk and need to be able to display due diligence to their shareholders. Many of them believe the UK government is far too busy dealing with day-to-day security issues to provide specific advice to them. Diplomats and politicians need to back up their information with analysis and fact. Unlike businesses, however, they probably have easier access to security information provided by the police and the security services. News agencies need this information to produce articles and news items, and this is often related to security issues. The bottom line, however, is there is often very little analysis of UK-specific issues relative to these customer groups. So this is therefore a pitch to sell this business idea to you investors and get you to invest money in a business idea that takes an innovative way of delivering security analysis for UK customers. How can these needs be fulfilled, and how can we deliver value to these customers? Security Risk Matrix can be seen as a matrix comparing security issues, including groups which pose a threat to the UK, rated against security variables. Examples of these variables may include lethality, or available funding, or long-term ambitions. For each variable, a value is assigned which in turn generates an overall risk rating. These values are used to generate a narrative about this group or issue, with the customer paying a subscription fee to access this service. SRM makes sense of vast data and has a long-term focus aligned to the UK's national security strategy. There is no security firm currently delivering this service, and there's certainly no firm delivering this just for the UK. Copyright will be used to protect SRM's name and will be used on the website as well as any further innovations generated by the business over time. A trademark may be a future consideration. If the linear formula used to calculate overall risk were to be developed, this would need to be patented. However, as it currently generates a simple average score, this is not currently necessary. USB flash drive security is a consideration for access protection for SRM. This can be developed for less than £500, which is a quote from MSM Software, with the enduring costs being production and distribution of USB drives, which would need to be factored into the subscription cost. So how do we fund the project? The total initial investment required is £50,000. This includes an additional £10,000 that would allow for further product testing and market research to be undertaken. £6,300 is required for the initial development of the website, which includes social media integration and search engine optimization. £300 would be required on a monthly basis to support the e-commerce facility, and monthly outgoings would be £3,380, which includes £1,000 allocated to marketing each month for the first 5 months. Every 3 months, £1,000 is allocated for an external consultant to review the business model and assist in refinement and improvement. The financial projections assume no subscribers for the first 5 months, allowing the marketing efforts to reach the 3 segments. Staff numbers are also at a minimum for the first 5 months, with 2 full-time and 1 part-time employee. The business would generate enough sales to exceed its monthly costs by the 9th month of operation, and hence begin to pay back the £50,000 investment. Fixed costs and staff costs would increase as the business became more profitable, and in line with this development, marketing costs would be altered accordingly. It is assessed that the business and news segments of the market will be the most profitable. The return on investment was calculated using net present value, IRR, and payback. The net present value was positive at £41,920, with the IRR estimated around 8%. The period of payback was viewed to be 18 months. Partnership is common in this sector, and SRM will gain most utility from partnering with an organisation with good access to relevant security information pre-analysis. A good example would be Jane's Security, which is essentially an encyclopedia of security information, although they do conduct some analytical work. As most companies such as these are started by former security officers or diplomats, this may be an important step to building sector credibility. The business model. The key activities include an enduring website hosting the matrix and linked to social media, a weekly update of matrix ratings, daily social media and blog updates, including analysis and not merely news, generation of bespoke products for subscribers, again that is UK focused, and a fortnightly newsletter. The business model allows for a single revenue stream from subscription costs. It is assessed that these will start to be generated after 5 months of heavy marketing activity, and that monthly subscribers will be around 30 a month, although this is likely to increase with time. There is no initial factoring for customers who leave the service, although they will be free to do so as they wish. And there is the opportunity to conduct bespoke work once the model is fully established. The customer segment that's likely to be most receptive to this is likely to be the diplomats and politicians segment. This is an example of what SRM may look like on the actual website, and it uses the example of an Irish terrorist group, comparing the group against 43 different security variables, which in turn generates a single risk rating. This is an example of the narrative generated from those security risk ratings. It is concise, highly focused, and long-term in its outlook. This is an example, again, of how these ratings can be visually represented and how the narrative can be displayed. It should be noted that only subscribers will have access to these narratives, and to view them they'll have to have the USB flash drive security option to be able to see these. This is really where the quality and the real value from the business model is delivered, and this is what the customer is actually paying for. The resources required to deliver value to those customers consist of the staff power capable of generating the concise and quality analysis. This is really important because these individuals need to be experienced in the sector and need to have an understanding of how that risk translates to the customer need. A website with effective search engine optimization linked to appropriate social media, again developed at the initial stage but maintained over time and viewable on all devices, so mobile phones, tablets. Regular marketing funding that is reviewed. This would be £1,000 each month for the first 5 months, but would be increased or maybe decreased as well depending on the actual need. An incremental consultancy fee on a 3-month basis, looking at what SRM does and improving and refining if necessary, and then the source material necessary to generate that concise analysis. The value delivered to the customer by SRM is shown using Kotler's 5 product level model. It shows the core benefit of the product, the generic product, which is it in its most simple terms, the expected product, the augmented product, and the potential product, which is what it might become in the future. So the 3 customer segments where SRM will be focusing its efforts include diplomats, politicians and government agencies, which includes members of parliament, local councillors, civil servants and government officers and departments. Media operators, which includes mainstream news broadcasters including Sky News, BBC News, Reuters, The Guardian, and actually much more than that, and that's probably the biggest segment that's being identified. And then large businesses, so UK and UK-based corporations with market capitalisation of at least £5 billion. Diplomats, politicians and government agencies were initially viewed as the sector or the customer segment that would have the greatest need for the service, but actually, having spoken to some of these individuals, their initial feedback is actually they have access to this information already, and that's provided by the police forces and the security services as well. They may subscribe to this service for personal interests, but actually they've got a greater interest in bespoke consultancy work. There is, however, an interest from this segment, but it's likely to be less profitable in comparison to the other segments. Media operators have shown a far greater interest in the service when compared to politicians and diplomats. They have stated that, though, the information provided must be credible and the analysts need to be experienced for them to be able to use this for the work that they conduct. The companies that would be targeted would be large broadcasters and publishers with a requirement to use this when delivering their service, and they've also expressed a favourable view of the risk rating that's provided. The final customer segment, and probably the biggest customer segment, are large businesses with a market capitalisation of £5 billion or more. Interest has been shown from some departments in some of these businesses because it gives them an ability to show due diligence to their shareholders and investors. It actually seems to be of greater interest to companies that conduct work with the military or with security services, and therefore are placed at a higher risk than some other businesses. So an example is Sodexo UK and Ireland, that is a contractor that conducts support work for the military. They've got a far greater interest in the service delivered by SRM because they work far more closely with the military and security services, and would be interested in specific information about specific groups for different areas as well. The maintenance and development of customer relationships over time is extremely important for the business model. The customer segments have been chosen due to their purchasing power and are not likely to be receptive to mass marketing tactics. Some influential customers may require particular attention, although this will not be the initial weight of effort for the business. The ongoing development of SRM will allow bespoke future work to be sold for a premium price. So if SRM can demonstrate a high level of quality in what it does in its first years of operation, then future work will be able to be charged at a more expensive price and therefore generate a higher level of income. The product will be primarily accessible through the website, which will be optimized for all mobile platforms and linked to key forms of social media, which includes Twitter, Google+, LinkedIn and Facebook, which are the common social media platforms used in this sector. The mobile application will be developed to allow access to SRM and a different viewing option, and some customers will be direct marketed. However, this will only take place in the long term, so after the first 3 years of business operation. For the first 6 months of operation, a trial offer will be offered to customers to generate interest in the product. This table shows the main costs for the business during the first year of operation. The table shows the main costs incurred during an average month. The majority of these costs are used for staff, marketing, and management of the website, and these costs are seen as the activities that add the most value to the business model. Web development costs are likely to be incurred on a quarterly basis as the website is updated and the model is refined, and fixed costs are not factored in until after the 6-month period. This is carried out because staff will be expected to conduct activity from home locations and from locations that do not incur rent until premises can be secured. The stage gate process for security risk matrix. The discovery phase of the stage gate model will be expected to take up to 6 months. It would involve use of many of the aspects of the business canvas model outlined earlier to analyse whether the business should continue and what aspects of the business would make it successful. No-go criteria would include that the idea would not generate revenue or not enough revenue for it to be feasible, there is not an identifiable market, and the cost of refining the project could not realistically be met. The go criteria would be that there is a sizable and a receptive market, and that the customer or the customer segments identified would be willing to pay for the product. It would be expected at this stage the decision would be to go. The scoping stage would take 7 months. Positive aspects of the product in the market include the fact that the market is currently unserved, the product is capable of development and refinement, it is an innovative idea, and is linked to an overarching government framework. Negative aspects include the fact that market segments may have differing needs and therefore require substantial resources to service all of these. The product is only accessible through a website and mobile platforms, and the risk scale may not be complex enough for the customer, which in turn may lead to the perception of low quality. The decision at this stage may be to go, but at this stage there may be a consideration to conduct more research. The third stage of the stage gate model is building the business case. In our example, we would expect it to last about 4 months, and we will use a SWOT analysis now to look into this in greater detail. The strengths of the business model are therefore that the service provided is differentiated. It's not similar to any of the services currently provided by any of the competitors in the sector. There is significant growth potential apparent in the market and also in the model as well, and there is a low funding requirement for the business, small compared to other companies in the sector with funding requirement of only £50,000. An initial market need has been displayed, although we have already identified that some additional research will be required to fully understand that need and make sure the product is correctly refined for the customer. And the business model itself is unique. Although there are many security firms out there, and then many of these firms focus on risk, very few of them use a risk scale in this manner, very few of them have a long-term outlook, and very few of them use a national security strategy to truly shape what they do. Weaknesses of the business and the market. The market is currently significantly large and also fragmented, with many companies attempting to match a different need from the customer. Much of the business is carried out face-to-face, and not a lot of the companies have a truly web-based presence. Security risk matrix does not have a sector reputation. Although we spoke about the benefits of partnering earlier on in the presentation, SRM has not currently established any of these partnerships and therefore doesn't have the reputation amongst competitors and the market as a whole. And the sector as a whole has a negative image following some of the activities of Stratfor last year, when some of its information was released by WikiLeaks and the information was seen to be of poor quality to the customer sector. Opportunities include the fact that it is a growth sector. There is an opportunity to set an example following the poor example set by other companies such as Stratfor. Competitors are mainly North American focused, and there is further opportunity for partnership and cooperation with other companies. Threats include regulation uncertainties, the fact that the government may seek greater control over the company or the sector as a whole, and the availability of open source information including blogs and news sites that might provide an alternative to the customer. So to summarise then, building the business case, the no-go criteria would be that there were no clear opportunities for growth and development, and the market itself was far too fragmented to make any money. The go criteria would be that the strengths and the opportunities counter the weaknesses and the threats, and in this case the decision would be to go. However, there would need to be an ongoing consideration for further product testing and also seeking partnership, and a lot of this would come in the next stage. The development stage would take between 9 and 12 months, and as long as the product and the market are proven by this stage, our group saw this as the most important, making sure that the product is truly ready for the market. It would work dynamically, possibly with the testing and validation stage, and would see the matrix possibly being adjusted based on market testing, consultation with the customer, and really identifying that customer need. If necessary, more funds could be allocated at this stage, although given the projections we've currently made, we don't think that would be necessary. The final stage would be the testing and the validation stage. This would take between 8 and 9 months. This really is a confirmation and a consolidation of everything that's been carried out so far. It would confirm that the product is fit for a clearly defined and a receptive market. At this stage, no-go criteria would be additional funding for the product development makes further operation unfeasible. So if we had got to this stage and requested a lot of additional funding for market testing and for market research, and it was becoming unfeasible, then chances are we would have to go back a couple of stages or even cancel the business altogether. Also, if it became apparent that the market was becoming unreceptive to the product due to changing market conditions or product that just wasn't right, then that again would add to the no-go criteria. Go criteria would be that ongoing development of the product and an understanding of the market stimulates that market interest, and the market continues to be receptive to the product. After moving through all the stages of the stage gate model, gathering information about the market segments and refining SRM to ensure it is fit for purpose and delivers value to the customer, it can be launched. Investors, we have asked for £50,000 to develop and launch this product, acknowledging that further market research and product testing is required. What we have is a concept, a prototype product, and 3 receptive market segments. What we need is your investment into this business to allow it to generate income and consequently a healthy return on your investment.